you just died. Your heart stops, but your brain does not go quiet. For the next 30 seconds, it lights up more than it has in years. Memories start flashing, fast, one after another. A part of your brain tied to out-of-body experiences switches on. This is not fiction. This is what one real recording actually caught. So what if the moment you die is not an ending at all? Let's talk about how this was actually discovered. In 2022, an 87-year-old man was in a hospital, recovering from a head injury. Doctors had connected him to a machine that tracks brain activity, called an EEG. Then, without warning, his heart suddenly stopped. Nobody planned for this. The recording just happened to be running. For 15 straight minutes, the EEG kept recording everything. In the 30 seconds right around his final heartbeat, something remarkable happened. The brain waves involved are called gamma waves. They are the fastest brain waves your brain can produce. They are strongly linked to focus, memory, and conscious awareness. In other words, this is what your brain looks like when it is genuinely paying attention. But here is the detail that made researchers sit up. The surge was strongest in a specific region called the temporoparietal junction. This exact region is known to activate during out-of-body experiences and during dreaming. So when this part of the brain lit up, right as the man was dying, some researchers wondered if he may have briefly felt something. Not proof of anything beyond the body, just a real, physical process that might explain why so many people report the same experience. Quick question before we keep going. If your last conscious moments were a replay of your best memories, which ones do you think would show up first? Really sit with that. Then let's keep going. The single case from 2022 is not where this research stops. A much larger study, called AWARE-2, followed 567 patients across 25 hospitals in the United States and the United Kingdom. All of them had suffered cardiac arrest. Their hearts had genuinely stopped. Every one of them was, by every clinical definition, dead, and every one of them was later successfully revived. Some of these patients later described clear, structured memories from the time their hearts were stopped, not vague impressions, actual, detailed recollections. Some described reviewing their own actions and how those actions had affected other people. Some even recalled specific details from their own resuscitation afterward. The lead researcher was honest about what this does and does not tell us. In his own words, this research has neither proven nor disproven what these experiences actually mean. That kind of honesty is rare, and it is exactly why this research deserves to be taken seriously. Now, it's important to be honest about something. This was only one documented case, one person being closely monitored at the exact right moment. Some scientists are genuinely skeptical. They point out that the gamma wave signal could be contaminated by something else entirely. Small muscle twitches near the scalp, in a body that was already shutting down. In other words, the signal might not have come from thought at all. This debate is still completely open. Researchers on both sides have published papers, and neither side has fully convinced the other. But even the skeptics agree on one thing. Something measurable really did happen in that brain, in those final seconds. And that alone is worth taking seriously. There is another angle worth exploring here, and it has nothing to do with brainwaves. It comes from basic physics. Energy cannot be created. It cannot be destroyed. It only ever changes form. This is one of the most well-tested laws in all of science. It applies to stars burning out. It applies to a candle going dark. It applies to everything, without a single known exception. So here is an honest question worth asking. If nothing in the entire universe simply disappears, why would the energy that makes up you be any different? To be clear, this does not prove any kind of afterlife. It just means the matter and energy that make up you were never truly created and will never truly vanish. There is one more way to think about all of this. You are not just a body. You are also a pattern of information. Your memories, your habits, the specific way you laugh. All of that is, in a very real sense, information stored in the structure of your brain. Information, in physics, behaves in a strange way. Some physicists argue it may never truly be destroyed either, only scattered and rearranged. This is still a genuinely debated area of physics, but it raises a genuinely interesting thought. If the pattern that makes you, is a form of information, it may never be fully erased, just scattered, rearranged, passed on, in ways we are still working to fully understand. There is one more perspective worth knowing, and it is over 2,000 years old. It comes from a Greek philosopher named Epicurus. His argument was surprisingly simple. While you are alive, death is not present. And once death arrives, you are no longer present to experience it. So the two of you, in a strange way, never actually meet. Epicurus put it simply, where death is, you are not. Where you are, death is not. This does not mean death is good or that it should be welcomed. It simply means the fear itself may be aimed at something that can never actually be experienced. One more before we get to the deeper point. Does knowing all of this make death feel any less frightening to you? Sit with that. Then let's finish this properly. This single case is not the only piece of evidence worth knowing about. For decades, researchers have collected accounts from people who nearly died and came back. Thousands of accounts from wildly different cultures and backgrounds. And strangely, the same details keep showing up, again and again. A deep, sudden feeling of peace, a sensation of floating outside your own body, a dark tunnel leading toward a bright light, a rapid, vivid review of your own life. This pattern shows up so often that scientists gave it a name. Some researchers believe this is a spiritual event. Others believe it is entirely explainable by the physical brain, shutting down under extreme stress. Both explanations are actively being studied, right now, by serious researchers. Neither one has been fully proven. Neither one has been fully disproven. There is one more real, physical process worth understanding. Every atom in your body right now was already here, long before you were born. Some of those atoms were once part of a star, billions of years ago. When you eventually die, those same atoms do not disappear. They simply return to the world around you. Some become part of the soil. Some become part of a growing plant. Some eventually become part of another living creature entirely. This is not a metaphor. This is basic, well-understood biology and chemistry. Scientists even have a name for this, the carbon cycle. The same handful of atoms passed endlessly from one living thing to the next. Right now, you are almost certainly made of atoms that once belonged to someone else entirely. Maybe someone who lived thousands of years ago. Let's bring everything we've covered together. A real recording showing a final burst of brain activity, right at the edge of death. A basic law of physics saying that nothing simply disappears. An ancient philosopher who argued that death can never actually be experienced. And a body made of atoms that will simply continue on, in new forms, long after you are gone. 4 completely different fields: neuroscience, physics, philosophy, and biology. All circling the exact same strange, unresolved question. None of this proves there is life after death, but it does suggest something worth sitting with. The ending you have always pictured, a sudden, total blackout, might not be entirely accurate. Let's make this a little more personal. Think about someone you have lost. Their atoms did not vanish. In some small, real, physical way, they are still part of the world around you. That will not take away the grief. Grief is real, and it deserves space. But maybe it can sit alongside something else, a quiet kind of comfort. Here is the part worth remembering. Death may still be the end of your body, the end of the specific pattern you have called yourself, your whole life. But it may not be the end of everything you are made of, the energy, the atoms, perhaps even a final, brief flash of thought. If this changed how you think about death, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to EVM. We ask the questions you stopped asking a long time ago.